All right.
Yay.
Welcome. This is episode 2. We don't know what we're doing still. All right, Marine. Come on, you can do it.
Who?
There you go. I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
I am fucking proud of you.
Somebody's proud of me.
So what's up, Kodip?
Nothing, bro. Let's see. What have we been up to? American Trucking Simulator has gotten us by the balls.
Which is funny because it's not that interesting of a game, but because you add friends into it, it makes it that much more interesting.
It's weird, man. It's it's relaxing stream content, at least on my
It is. It really is, because the only really like what sucks is if you look away, right, you're gonna wreck. But
well, at the speeds that we go in this game.
Yeah, or one of us will rear end the other. I'm not gonna name drop here, but Andrew. Or Kodip likes to rear end people at 90 miles an hour too.
It's to help. He was stuck.
That's how he makes himself feel good about it.
He said, "Step bro, I'm stuck." And I came as quick, well, no pun intended, but I came as quickly as possible.
No, that was so messed up. So how much money you got in the game right now?
In the game now?
Yeah. How much money are you sitting at right now?
80,000. I just bought another garage and put another driver.
Okay, how many garages total you got?
4.
4? Okay, so
none of them are maxed out.
So I currently have 7.
You currently have 7.
I think all except for 2 of them are maxed out. And I sit right around 350k. But I also haven't been on as long as you guys have. If I was playing as long as you guys have, like in the stretches that you play, I'd probably have just as much money. Well, or double that amount of money from the garages.
I feel like most of my money was spent in just doing random stuff to my truck.
Early on, I spent every bit of my money on trucks, right? Like I have that, like the Peterbilt that we first started with, the 389. I put, I don't know, probably 200 or 300k into, right off the rip. Put yourself in.
I want it.
I'm liking the W900. I'm liking the Kenworth. The only thing I can complain about is the steering, but I think that has to do with the axle that I'm running on it. So
yeah.
But
so what's our topic for today? Because I know we discussed it a little bit, but we got to give it for everyone else that's here. We need to let them know what we're going to be discussing today.
We're going to talk monies. Specifically, financial choices, I guess is the best way to put that. Because I've had to make quite a few crazy financial decisions in the past couple of weeks. So I figured that'd be a good topic. Baby. Yeah, that move is kind of tearing me up a little bit. So, one of the things is don't seamlessly spend your money, right? We shouldn't do that. Like, you don't go out to eat and spend $100. It's not. I didn't do that tonight. But
put it to you in layman's terms. Don't do what I do. And
no. Okay, so yes and no. I sold my car, right? I think we talked about this last night when I did sell it to that sketchy dude that Mel thought was going to come back and kill us all. He was kind of weird, man. But I think so. There was a language barrier. He was Middle Eastern. He said he was buying the car for his mom, but I don't think he was buying the car for his mom because there's a bunch of he said he was an hour away and it lines up. Like, there's a bunch of areas closer to Dallas where they'll buy fairly beat up BMWs and half-ass repair them and then put them in a warehouse and sell them out of a warehouse. And I'm like 90% sure that's what he was doing.
Oh, so he's just
mass flipping cars, and it's always BMWs, Land Rovers.
Well, that's today's market.
I've seen Porsches.
If you look at today's market due to social media, that's what people want: Land Rovers, BMWs.
Well, and I'm not going to complain. Okay, like my car was a BMW. Like I had a 550i. My complaints aren't with the construction of the car, right? The car was actually solid. I paid $4,800 for that thing when I bought it, and I put 100,000 miles on that car in 3.5-4 years. Mind you, that's a lot. That's 25,000 miles a year on that car. I'll tell you, if you go lease a car, they're not going to give you a car if you tell them you're putting 25,000 miles a year on it.
Never understood leasing a car.
It's like leasing. It's like leasing a house. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about car leases, right? You're contractually obligated to pay for the car, and then at the end, if there's something wrong with it, you just hand it back to them and say, "Here you go. This is the wear and tear of the car," right? Plus, typically all the maintenance is covered under leases. That's why people do it. But
so elite, you're renting to own, is what you're telling me.
You could, yeah. That's an option. Because at the end of it, they're going to be like, "Oh, well, you paid this much, and the car's worth this much. Do you just want to pay the difference and keep the car?"
Like I had a guy when I was growing up and living in the neighborhood that I lived in. He worked for BMW, and he would always lease his cars. Always. It didn't matter what situation he was in. He always had like a year or two older BMW.
Well, the company may have paid for him to lease that too. That may have been the contract for his employment too. My grandfather for a long time worked for a company that was they were a contractor for companies like Hershey and Mars.
Mm-hmm.
And he would travel all the time. So they're like, "Well, since you're going to be traveling all the time, we're going to pay for your car lease. You get to choose between like 6 options. And whatever you choose out of that, you keep for the duration of the lease. Once you're done with it, you can give it back or you can buy it from us." And that's what, I mean, I think the last one, right before he retired, he leased a Ford F-150, and he still has that truck to this day. But he's also retired, lives in Florida, and pretty much can walk to the beach from his house. So, I mean,
if you want a truck, I can tell you now, if you want a truck and you live in America, go get a job as a game warden.
Oh, they give you a truck, yeah.
Yep. They give you a truck to work in and drive, and then when you basically retire, you get the truck for free.
And right now, I think most of them are using F-250 Super Duties, and Colorados are another common one, the new Colorado. Yeah. So,
but finances. Let's see. Where do we want to start for finances?
Let's start because I don't really want to disclose numbers other than like private sales. Like I don't want to disclose my finances, but I'll give roundabout numbers.
Yeah, we can do that.
At least in my situations. So let's discuss what a sound financial decision is, right? You're E3 in the world's greatest military, right? A sound financial decision would be to not buy that fucking Camaro. Okay? That's a sound financial decision. Go buy some beater car that you can work on yourself or figure out how to work on yourself. And in time, that'll save money. And over time, instead of paying $1,000 a month for this car, you can save up and buy the car outright. Like, I'm a big proponent. Like, I don't think that loans are worthwhile, at least in today's day and age, right? Car loans are at a minimum of 7% right now. And with the car prices the way that they are, we just looked at buying a new car today once I moved because Mel's at a point where her car isn't feasible to drive continuously here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because one, it's a 6-speed manual, and we live in the city. And if anyone who listens understands Dallas-Fort Worth traffic, it's ass to drive a standard in. Like, I had a 40-mile commute to work every day, and when I would take her car, I would hate my life. More so than when I took my car, because on the motorcycle, I would just lane filter. So cars are expensive right now, right? So having a car note, yeah, it looks good if you're paying it on time and to build your credit and things like that. But in reality, that's all it does. You're paying for a $50,000 car over the course of 7 years right now. You're paying a fifth of that, maybe more in interest. So to me, I don't see we're going to do it that way just because we have the financial stability in 6 months to do it. Because this move is brutal, man. We were so hard set on what we were going to do, and then everything came up, right? And we were like, oh shit, this is way too much. We can't do it this way. So, we'll start there because that's something that everyone can relate to, right? Not everybody makes big moves like I do as far as like cross country. I know that's not as common. I mean, it's never really been common, to be honest. But I'm a firm believer in go where the work is, right? And my work happens to be halfway across the country now, and I'm heading back to the East Coast. But I think a good place to start is where people can really understand like where finances can be changed and where sound financial decisions can be made easily by buying that beater Honda instead of that 2024 Camaro SS, right? You know,
and that can be brought down to something even smaller. Like, yeah, 100% agree with you 1000%. You do not need to buy a 30, 40, 50, $60,000 car that's brand new, albeit that car may, and I use may in a gambler's term, because anything mechanical or electronic has the potential to fail the day you get it. Right. So you could buy a brand new car, and we had a couple of these when I worked at the Ford dealership where we had a dude come in. He bought a brand new Camaro, took it out, got 500 feet down the road from the dealership, and a piston just decided it didn't want to be in the block no more.
Oh, it was met the atmosphere, huh?
Yeah. I even vouched for him because I was out there pressure washing the cars. Like, I heard him leave. He never got on it. It was just like, he was cruising till he got up to the speed of the speed limit, and then all of a sudden I heard pow, and I'm like, what the hell was that? And there's that brand new Mustang that I had just got done detailing sitting on the side of the road. I'm like, oh man, big old
stain of oil underneath of it.
At least I don't have to clean it.
At least you did it off the dealership lot.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, it's like you don't know. It's a risk, no matter what. Everything's a risk when it comes to profit, ROI, anything like that. Anything that you do is a risk, whether you're going to have a positive net return or a negative net return or just break even. But like you said, buying a beater car compared to something that's like that expensive. Once you get into these new cars, you're looking like headlights for my truck. A brand new headlight assembly is like $150 for a pair. My dad's brand new truck, you're looking at $600 a pair.
Exactly. Like it's wild. So luckily,
if you don't have that money, you can't. Yes, you've got a nice car, but you can't feasibly afford the possible repairs in the future. And it's pointless.
So I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's one of those things that like I get told this too, right? Like, oh yeah, but if I buy a new car, I get a warranty with it. Not only do I get a warranty from the from the factory, you have the option to purchase a longer warranty, which, I mean, typically most people do anyways. And they offered free oil changes and inspections. Well, yeah, but first off, your warranty isn't lifetime. An oil change is $20 to $30 if you do it right. Sometimes upwards of 50, right? It's actually kind of funny because my BMW took 8 quarts of oil, which was insane. I've never had a vehicle that took 8 quarts of oil. That's 2 gallons of oil, dude.
That BMW is like what, a 6-cylinder?
No, I had the 4.8 V8.
Oh, okay. Then that makes
naturally aspirated, not a turbo, so it didn't have any turbo lines to push oil through either. But those are gimmicky, right? Because if you, in a sense, and I'm going to go back to not playing devil's advocate here to kind of explain it. The warranty is nice because it covers issues. But what it covers is typically limited. For one, you can get bumper to bumpers, but they're extremely expensive. And now you're tacking money onto what you already owe. So that $50,000 car just became a $60,000 car because you wanted that extended warranty. Well, now your payment goes up $200 a month for the next 7 years. It's not like and if you're financially stable and you can afford those payments, fine. That's cool, right? Like I'm not knocking that in any way because, like I said, in 6 months we're gonna pull a lien on a car and be absolutely fine. But it's just, if you're younger, it's not a sound financial decision. And I can't stress that enough, because not only does it take away from your finances, it takes away from your learning, because now, well, maybe your parents didn't teach you how to change oil or how to change your tire or something like that. And now you're not going to get the opportunity to learn that because you're just going to take it to the dealership, right? So I grew up in a household where I had to teach myself everything, or I asked a person who was that was their specialty. I knew people. Not everybody knows people, so now you're going to have to YouTube video and learn it. I mean, I changed the window motor in the BMW before I sold it. Guess what? I don't know anyone who knows how to do that. So guess where I went? YouTube. And I did it myself instead of the dealership charging me $800 for it. I paid $150 for the window motor and the window motor assembly and did it myself.
And two, the biggest thing is, not only is it a learning experience, but it sets you up for, in some way, it sets you up for a financial successful future, right? So not only are you buying a used beater car that you get to work on, but you start to learn to love that car. You may love this new car that you buy because it's your dream car and it's what you wanted and everything like that. And you may buy the biggest expensive warranty. But at the end of the day, if all you're doing is oil changes and inspections and stuff like that through the 7 years or 10-year warranty that you get, and you never have anything go completely, utterly, catastrophically wrong, guess what? You've wasted $10,000 or however much that warranty is in the hopes that you would need it, but it was a gamble.
Yeah, and it could have gone towards a different car or towards your down payment on your house later on, or medical bills, you name it, right? Like, having that cushion is so nice. I say this to Mel all the time, right? Like, there was a point where we were so stable that I could literally decide to, at a moment's notice, to go out to eat, right? And be like, hey, let's go here. And the question wasn't, the idea wasn't, that's too expensive, let's choose somewhere else. It was like, all right, let's go. And I mean, right now it's not that way because I'm in penny pincher mode, because not only am I moving, I've been unemployed for 6 months. But like, having that cushion is so comfortable, right? And knowing that, like, I had to put a clutch. I didn't have to put the clutch in. I could have done just the slave cylinder because the clutch was fine, but I did it because they already had the transmission open. because I don't have the means to do it at my house.
I don't think a lot of people do. In all
So,
honesty.
I have friends who have lifts at their house, but they don't live around here, so makes it a little harder. But
I don't
go
mean
ahead.
to interrupt.
Go ahead.
But that is something that is hugely important. As someone that's been a mechanic for majority of his life, am I ASC certified? No. I've taken the test. I've passed it. So I had to take the test, quote unquote, take the test when I worked at Advanced Auto Parts. But as someone that has done thousands of hours of work on their own vehicles, I can tell you, for those that are coming into the age of being, an adult or in their middle of their lifespan and can still do the things that they need to do on their vehicle, oil change, spark plugs, wires, whatever. If there's something connected to, like you said, the slave cylinder, you could have just done the slave. You could have done both, but you didn't have the tools or the equipment to do the clutch alongside the slave cylinder.
Well, see, I didn't even do the slave cylinder because the slave cylinder is internal. So they had to break the transmission apart regardless. So I was like, so I asked the mechanic, I was like, what's the difference in price? He's like, well, it's only the cost of the clutch because that's the only difference, right? I already have it open. So why would it cost any more? So instead of paying like $2,000 because transmissions aren't cheap, right? The moment they start taking bolts off your transmission, it's going to cost you at least $2,000, at least every time. And that is some sound advice. If you have a car and you have transmission issues and you don't have a lot of money, figure out how to do it yourself, because they are going to charge out the ass for that, because it is always a pain in the ass. Yep. Because it's not only do they have to take bolts off, they have to worry about fluid levels. They have to dump fluid out. They have to, in the case of a clutch, there's a bearing in there that has to come out. Like there's a lot, right? Transmissions are a pain in the ass. They really are.
Super complicated.
Yeah, overly complicated for what they are. But so as soon as they break those bolts, they're like, "Oh, give me your money, bro. That's $2,000 right there." So I ended up paying about $3,000 for that fix, and that one wasn't really that bad. So it's funny because we were talking earlier about the worth of that car, right? Yeah. And how it is a numbered car and I don't want to get rid of it. I am literally at the point, because it's almost at 200,000 miles and it needs a timing chain done on it. And I'm not doing the timing chain on that car. No, that's another $2,000 right there. So now, will I sell that car? Hell no, I'm not going to sell that car. I love that car. She loves that car. Are we going to convert it to a non-daily driving car? Of course, that's what's going to happen. And it's not going to see the 10,000 miles a year that it's been seeing. It's going to see maybe 2,000 miles a year.
But at the same time, because it is a numbered car, we don't know what the future holds for that car either.
Well, I kind of do, because they're diminishing rapidly. So that in 10 years, that car is going to be worth double or triple what it is now.
And then on top of that, in 20 years, it hits close to its, and it's not antique, it's classic.
Classic. Stage. Well, classic is what, 20? Is it 20 or 25?
20. I think it's 20.
So it's almost there then. It's already almost there.
I think it's 20 or 25.
It's a 2008. So
while you talk, I'm going to Google it.
But yeah, so that car is inherently going to, that was a sound investment, right? We talk about sound financial decisions is our topic for tonight. That was a sound financial decision because it's going to be worth more later on. Yeah. So, I mean, in the long run, is it worth it? Yes. In the short term, am I hating that I have to make those kind of changes and spend that kind of money on it? Yeah, because it's just not in the cards right now. So it's just one of those things where it's easier for me to buy a new car and then let that one kind of chill out and be a lesser driven car.
Now, bear in mind for everyone listening, we're not saying that your 1990 Honda Civic is a classic car that's going to bring you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
No.
So, per this, any car that's manufactured between 1919 and 1930 is a vintage car, which means you have to get expensive ass insurance for it, especially if it is a good mint condition car. You're going to want vintage insurance. An antique car is between 75 and earlier, older than 45 years. Vintage insurance, antique car insurance is also very expensive.
It's far less expensive than vintage, but it is definitely way more expensive than what you are going to explain as classic and current insurance.
Your uncle or your grandpa's 1968 Chevy C10 that's been beaten and used as a farm truck does not deserve, but it does not deserve an antique car insurance policy. Throw that bitch on, basic insurance and let her go.
Yep.
1990s or earlier is your classic car. So it has to be 20 years or older. So technically
so that was written.
My truck is a classic.
That was written in 2010 then. If it said 1990s or earlier. Anywhere between 2010 and 2019, but
so
that doesn't matter. That's not the whole topic.
Yeah.
I'm sure it holds true today the same, right?
But you have to look at the cars that you're getting. These mass-produced, Civics, Accords, stuff like that.
Those aren't classics.
Those aren't going to fetch you any money.
No. And that's the thing, right? And leading into this, did we know it was a numbered car? I knew a little bit because I have a friend who was a Mopar mechanic, right? Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, if you're going to buy one now because they're about to go up in price again. And I think for her car, we bought it at a dealership, right? And I think I paid $8,500 in 2016 for that car. And now in good condition, that car is worth about $15,000. So
it's getting there.
Yeah. I mean,
slowly but surely.
Like I said, it depends. I may never get rid of that car. I told you before, like I have a neon SRT4 sitting in a garage. That's not really numbered, but it is limited production because the color was only made 1 year. And out of the 3 years that they were made, and that was like my first big purchase car. I think I paid $7,200 for that in 2012, 2013, something like that. So, those are sound financial decisions. One, because I didn't pay a lot for them. I had the free floating money to be able to make those purchases if I wanted to. Did I end up going with a loan on them? Yeah, because if I have the cash at any point, if I got strapped, I could just dump the cash on it and have it paid off, and it wouldn't be a thing. But I also had on the Neon, to put it in perspective, I had a 2% interest rate. Like,
you can't beat that.
No, you're not getting that.
I think the biggest thing is, like you just said, when it comes to a loan, if you have the money, and like, let's say you're looking at wanting to buy a boat. I don't know. Let's use a boat for an example. And you find this boat and it's $5,000. You've got the cash sitting there, but you also know that your credit score is a little low and you need to work on it. It's steadily growing, and it's growing. All credit scores grow at a very, very slow climb. One of the things that I think that anybody can really do is, if you have the cash on hand, go get a loan for it. If your credit score is good enough, go get a loan for it. And then buy the boat with the loan, and then pay that loan off extremely quickly. 6 months, have it paid off completely.
I'm good. I want to interject here because I think, 6 months isn't bad. I guess it depends on the duration of your loan. Okay. So here's the secret to most loans. Most loans are back heavy, right? All your interest is on the back end. So like if you look at a graph, it goes from principal, like 90% principal, 10% interest to like, I think the max is 50-50. I don't remember off the top of my head. This is just guessing. But it shifts like that. The best way to explain it to people is if you ever watch tractor pulls, you know how that sled shifts on the tractor or on the trailer for the tractor pulls?
Please speak in my language.
That's how it goes. That's how the interest goes. It gets heavier and heavier at the end of the loan. So, one of the secrets that I was actually taught by a family member who hadn't been ever involved in like the finance department of employment or schooling or anything like that was they paid their house loan for the first 5 years of the house loan. They doubled the premium. And then they paid the rest out the rest of the duration. Now they cut off of a 30-year mortgage, 15, I don't remember if it was 15 or 30, but they cut 5 years off of it just by doing that.
Yeah.
So, and that's just, it may have been more than that, right? Like in general sense, if you pay 5 years worth of principal, you're cutting 5 years off the end of that loan. You know, so with not having to pay that much interest, because when you look at your interest accrues monthly, even though it's an APY, right? It is compounding. Like there's negative, everything is always positively compounding, right? But the impact is either negative or positive, right? So like you go into like, you talk about your Wealthfront account all the time, right?
Yeah,
that's
baby.
That's positive impact for.
I'm actually going to pull it up and look at it right now while we're talking about it.
Positive impact of compounding interest, whereas a loan is a negative impact of compounding interest, right? Because one, you make more money. The simple way to put this is one, you make more money over time. The other one, you pay more money over time. So the sooner you pay that loan off, the better. Now, when you cut your premium down, right, you also cut the amount of interest you're paying because it's compounding monthly. So like if you look at the course of a loan, right, the interest amount that you pay monthly or yearly goes down towards the end of that loan. It may not, it's the same percentage, but then the total amount is less at the end of that because of the simplest way to put that is you're paying the principal off, so that number gets smaller. So naturally the preceding number is going to get smaller too.
Oh, especially if you get like a big thing is like, if you can get a loan, especially like through a car dealership or whatever, and you have the money, you could pay cash, right? You could pay cash for like a used car. Find a decent used car at the dealership, and they're like, well, we can run your credit score and do all these numbers and da-da-da-da, and you'll get, I don't know, a year of interest free. If you have the money sitting there and you can get that loan for a year of interest free,
pay it off in a year.
Pay it off in a fucking year.
So I'm going to tell you the secret.
That goes to your credit history, and that shows that you paid this loan off, and that's going to boost your numbers.
It'll boost your numbers until the end of the duration of that loan. And I'm going to give this a rundown because this is how this works. Okay. So Kodip, you got a medical bill last month for $5,000. Okay. This isn't actual. This is just, that's a big ass medical bill.
What the hell did I do?
You got your poop stuck.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
All right, so your poop stuck bill, you're basically they had to plunger your asshole.
$5,000 for a dollar. $5,000 finger in my ass and put a suppository in there. That's
okay. That's the American medical system for you too. That's a topic for a different time. But so $5,000, right? You get that bill 30 days after it happens. Okay. And you get this notice that says, you have 30 days to pay this in full. Okay? And you have the money. We're going to say you have the money. I don't know if you do. I don't know if you don't. But let's say you pay that bill off that day. Okay? The day you get it, you call them. You're like, here's my credit card information. I'm paying this bill off. That's all fine and dandy, right? But it's going to take 30 days for that to hit your credit. Your credit report will not see that for 30 days. So, with that in mind, right, in 6 months' time, your credit, so the credit reporting system cycles in 6 months. So, essentially, it takes about 6 months for that to fully adjust across your credit. So, when you were talking about paying something off in 6 months, it's not really feasible because you don't have enough time for it to say you have debt and then to say you don't have debt. Right? Yeah. But the other thing too is when you take debt off of your credit report, it's going to knock your credit down because you have nothing there. Right? So this is how you start using credit to an advantage, and this is where like smart financial decisions come in. You go get yourself, let's say you're 18, right? Just turned 18. You have no credit at all. I'm going to tell you what you need to do. This is how you build credit and hold credit in a positive rapport, right? You go get yourself a secured credit card for $300. You pay $100 for the credit card. I don't know what they're going at anymore because I don't keep credit cards anymore. I use other methods to build my credit, right? You go get that secured credit card. You don't run it all the way up to the max. And what you do is you use it to buy gas. You wait for your 30-day statement. Okay? You pay half of it then, and then you pay half of it 15 days later. And you continuously do that, and that'll build your credit because there's always something on your credit at some point. So what it is on the first of the month, your bill is due, right? You pay 50% of it, but you still have a balance on there. So it holds that balance until the third or fourth or whenever the credit bureaus run their scan of it, right? And then you pay the rest of that shit off. And then now you're reset for the next month. You go buy your $100 in gas for your fucking jacked up diesel truck, right? And you just reset the cycle. My biggest... Go ahead.
Not only holding that credit there, but that card, especially if you're 18 years old, like I want you to listen to this because it is super important. If you do go get a secured credit card, the money you put forward is the money that you get allowed on that credit card. So if you put $500 in, that is your credit limit, $500. After a year, you can go back to the bank and you can say, hey, I want to turn this credit card into an unsecured credit card or keep it secured. If you want to keep it secured, it doesn't matter. But after that year, if you do turn it into an unsecured credit card, you get that $500 back because it was in technicality, it was a loan to the bank in a way.
It was an insurance loan. That's what it is. It's to ensure that if anything ever happens and that card's maxed out, they can pay it off.
Yeah.
That's essentially without the interest because they're the bank, right? So they don't have to pay the interest.
But turn it into an unsecured credit card and keep that card for your lifetime because especially at the age of 18, having that credit card there, because I never did it and I wish I'd done it, but having a credit card from the age of 18 to 30, my credit score would be way different because I have that quote unquote line of credit in that history of having that card for so long. Whereas when you have shorter, like you go get a credit card from Best Buy or something like that, do what you got to do with it, pay it off, and then you cut that credit card up and throw it away and cancel the account. Well, now that credit card's no longer on your credit history. It's not on your credit score. So
the other advice to add on to yours is they are going to try and push your credit card limit up. They will try like hell to do it. If you cannot feasibly make the entire payment in a month, don't do it. Don't push it up.
Don't be like me.
So
I mean, I'll say it because I don't really care.
Well,
But
so I haven't had credit card debt in, I don't know, 10 years almost now. Shit, we've been virtually debt free. Actually, we're not debt free anymore because Mel's school loans just hit. And I'll tell you what, we went to apply for a house and they're like, "Oh, your credit, one person on your application's credit is lower than anticipated." And I'm like, "What?" And we looked at it and I was like, "Holy shit, how are you $45,000 in debt?" And I'm like, "Oh shit. We just paid for 4 years. We just paid for 4 years of college. That's how." So
okay, that's actually a good thing to talk about because you are in your early 30s. We're both in our 30s, but you're in your early 30s, and albeit you've gotten lucky with your schooling. But for the people that are turning 18, about to get out of high school, I personally am never going to go to college. I have no need to go to college. I have no want to go to college. But as for someone who wants to go to college, we all know loans are, especially student loans, are a fucking scam. They're just a way to keep you down in an insane amount of debt and fucking interest. Would you recommend,
actually the interest rates aren't that bad right now on school loans because they're federal loans. That's the nice thing. Now, if you go outside of, go ahead.
Would you recommend going and waiting to go to college? Let's say you go get a decent job somewhere in a field that you may be interested in, may not be interested in, but you go get a decent job and you save the money to then go to college at 24, 25, or 26, and then, but you can pay for your college out of pocket. Would that be a better financial decision?
Do you know what the ultimate financial decision is?
What?
You're going to like this one. You're really going to like this one. Join the military because college is free.
You could do that. You could do that.
No. It just depends. It depends on the career that you're looking to get into, right? If you're going to go get Joe Schmo's art degree from some art school, yes, wait to go to school. If you're doing something like an engineering degree or something, let's say you're going for 4 years in a trade, those are good degrees to get right out of high school. Because then not only that,
so much.
Well, yes. So blue collar work, right? The blue collar work life is minimal schooling, maximum pay, right? You're min-maxing the amount of school and pay that you can get right there.
Listen in, all you RuneScape and WoW players. Min-maxing can be done in real life.
It is, and I'll tell you what, I'm doing it right now. I've been doing it for the past 5 years, trying to find jobs that pay me the most for the amount of skilled work that I have, right?
I'm over here playing free to play. I'm out here struggling.
So, my career field is very, very unique, right? Like, and granted, I'm trying to get out of it, but it keeps sucking me back in.
Because the money's good.
It's like they got some like hawk tua there to make it nice, right?
I'm about to put a dip in. I'm about to leave.
So no, it's like, yeah, you want to leave? Well, here's a little bit more money to suck you right back in. But so I'll disclose not the wage, but I'll disclose what the offer. I say offer. It wasn't an offer towards me. It was what the job listing stated. But they did contact me for an interview, so that means that they were interested. I think we discussed this a little bit in our interview segment that we did last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going in confident and knowing that you know your skills and things like that. It's not like interviews, right, aren't a game of what you know anymore. It's how do you manipulate the situation at hand. It's literally 100%. They're not looking at who or how you do your job. They're looking at who you are as a person in an interview every time, every single time. I can tell you that because I had with this company that works for NASA. I didn't have to go there. I didn't have to meet anybody. I spoke on the phone with the project manager, and he was like, "Oh, I think you'd be a good fit. And then he got me on the phone with the site manager, and that guy was like, "Oh, you're a go-getter. You know what you're talking about. Cool. I'd like you here." You know what I mean? Like, that's what matters. You have to, for the lack of better terms, one, you don't lie about what you know, but you do have to like emotionally and mentally schmooze those people over to choose you over the other people. Luckily, my job doesn't have that many people applying. So there may have been 3 of us and I was the best decision. Granted, I had my phone call with the site manager, and 20 minutes later, the project manager was calling to offer me the job. But that's just because I know what I'm talking about. I've done it for 15 years, right? So, but like I said, I will disclose what SpaceX was going to offer if they were to offer me the job, and it was somewhere between 44 and 55 an hour. And that's a lot of money. Like, I mean, anyone between the ages of 18 and 30 without any college education, that is a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
So unless you're working in a like hella dangerous blue collar job, and by hella dangerous, I mean the oil field, the gas field, somewhere along those lines, the mining field, unless you are in those career fields, that is a lot of money. So
at most a plumber, an HVAC guy, somewhere around there, they're going to be making
30,
25 to $35 an hour.
Yeah.
Like,
which, and that, don't get me wrong, that's good. But in today's day and age, if you have more than 4 people total in your household, you need a lot more money than that to survive. So, my career field is small, and now I lost my train of thought because we got off topic. Go ahead.
So, like my career field, if I was to continue to do so, which I'm not for medical reasons, but if I was to continue to do so, you could go pick up my job, you know, as an aircraft mechanic. You could pick up my job straight out of high school, and you could make, starting out, like 24, 26 bucks an hour. And that's one of those jobs, like, compared to yours, I have nothing to stand on, because it's like,
you want me to tell you? Do you want me to tell you what they're getting paid here at Lockheed?
I don't want to, because I'll be upset.
I have a friend who actually moved. Okay, so this is a prime example. I have a friend who was an aircraft mechanic in the military, in the Air Force specifically. He was a KC-10 crew chief. Got out about the same time I did. Started working for Lockheed Martin on the F-35 project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last year, he finished his degree after being out of the military for 5-6 years, and is now an engineer, aerospace engineer for Lockheed. So, like, you can do this either way. I don't have this is better than that, right? But what I can say is, if you further your education, one, experience typically goes further than education.
Oh, 100%.
Now that's more so on the blue collar side. On the white collar side, that's a little bit different. Places won't touch you if you don't have a degree. Now, are most of them looking for experience as well? Yes. But you can schmooze your way into a white collar job with just a degree. I've seen it done. I know people who have done it. So it's just one of those things where you can work it either way. It just depends. And like I said, if you're going for like an art degree or something, unless you're going to do digital art in an era where digital art is super popular, I wouldn't touch it until after you have some experience under your belt. But other than that, you can go either way with it and still succeed very well.
Art is such a... Listen.
That's just... Okay, so that's...
college. And art, like my sister went to college for art. But she's got student loan debts. My parents have student loans debts because of it.
Well, you were talking about risk, right? And the big thing is risk versus reward. And if you don't understand how that works, right, then you are going to end up taking too much risk and scaring yourself out of ever taking risks again. And I'm a firm believer. I take a lot of risks, right? Like I take dangerous risks. I'm moving halfway across the country. Mm-hmm. I mean, I take hella risks, but they're all calculated. I know what's capable, what's not. That's why we made the decisions, and we'll get into that next. Why we made the decisions we made regarding our move, because we realized that the first option wasn't really feasible financially. And I don't really know many people my age that could afford that. So it's just one of those things that going into a my music stopped and I lost everything, dude. Like I was listening to music and
I'll continue what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I gotta fix this quick.
Is that bothered me the most is like my sister went for a degree in art. Cool, whatever, great, awesome. That's what you wanted to do. Has she used that art degree at any point after getting out of college? Fuck no, she hasn't. And it irritates me so much. So I'm going to say this because I haven't experienced it. But for those of you that are like, oh, I'm going to go to college and do an art degree, the fuck you are. If you want to, you can do a minor in art degree in art. That would be,
of course,
okay. Yeah. But art, unless you know for a fact that you're going to become the next Pablo Picasso or Van Gogh or whatever, like you know for a fact, 100% without a doubt that that's who you're going to be, do not major in art. Do not major in art science unless that's your field and you're going to go into a museum and you're going to go do, you're going to do art history and all this other stuff, or you're going to actually feasibly go in and be an art teacher. I could see it. But you know what my fucking sister does? She sells houses. Could she use her art degree? Oh, 100% she could use her art degree. She could paint the house that she's selling to a client and then smooth them over with this beautiful painting, oil or pastel or whatever, painting of this house that they could frame in their house and be like, our realtor sold us this house and then also painted this picture for us. That would be great. Does she have time? No, she's got a fucking kid to take care of. She's got all this stuff. So no, the art degree that she majored in does not ever get used. And it's a waste of money.
An art degree is not a sound financial decision.
There we go. It's set in stone. You heard it here from us. Discussions by dummies.
And in our opinion, art degrees are not a sound financial decision.
Minor in it. Like, take it for a semester or 2 semesters.
I want people to realize too that all that money that you can spend on an art degree can go into either another degree or you can put it into a fund and make compounding interest on. You can buy a car. At the end of a school,
compounding interest. I'm so excited. That's my go-to. I love compounding interest.
Well, there's so many ways to get compounding interest now on something that it's just insane, and I don't know why people aren't doing it, right?
Because no one... So this is what I've learned, right? And this might be a hot take, but this is what I learned. If you're our age, your parents and your grandparents didn't really do compounding interest. They did, but they didn't.
Well, they didn't see it either. So
their shit was CDs. CDs were the go-to thing. And albeit back in this, I want to say 70s and 80s, maybe early 90s, a CD was the way to go. And the
CD was good because it compounded really heavily back then. But because of the crash of the US dollar, it's become worthless, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that to bust anybody's ass, right? But
it's good for short-term gains, and I've found that out.
So by short-term gains, you mean about 5 years, right?
Yes.
So like years. I would call those midterm gains because
year, 6 months to realistically short-term for a CD. you're going to put a lot of money into it.
Well, yes, you have to in order for it to make you money. Like that.
Right now,
because CD interest above 5% at all?
Very rarely will you find one that's above 5%. So you're looking at mid 3%.
Yeah.
Maybe a 4 if you're lucky. Usually those 4s come with like, sign up with our bank and do this and do that kind of, deals.
But, and to be honest, that interest isn't compounding technically. It's quarterly interest, so.
Yeah. And you can get some CDs that are compounding monthly or compounding continuously, but you're going to lose out on that interest rate at the same time. But the biggest thing for a CD nowadays is, let's say you're saving for a wedding, right? Your wedding cost you $20,000 and you've got, $15K in the bank account that's saved up for it. What you can do to expedite that is find you a CD with a good enough interest to where you can put that $15,000 into it and it sit in that CD for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, because you can pick the length of maturity for your CD. And in 2 to 3 years, that CD has made you that extra $5,000 in interest. And now you can pay for your wedding, and then all the money that you would have been taking to bump up that amount of money, you can spend somewhere else, paying bills, paying your debts off, doing whatever. Because now that $15,000 has been able to make money on its own, and that's the good thing about like short-term CDs.
You know what CDs are to me? High value bonds. Well, it works a little bit differently, but to me, like, just in the sense of what they are, is essentially a bond. It's a little bit different, but
it's not tax deferred.
No, it's not. You're still getting taxed for it, bro. That's the shitty part. But I actually used bonds to fund a move. I don't remember when it was, but like over the course of like when I was a baby, my grandfather and my uncles always bought bonds, right? You talk about Gen X and boomers, right? My big thing about Gen X and boomers, one, the market is much different now than it was when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Houses are a lot more expensive. Cars are a lot more expensive. Now that's an inflation thing. I get it. But the other thing behind that, or behind boomers themselves, or Gen X, is boomers taught their kids how to save money a certain way. And unfortunately, that didn't age well, right? So our parents, as millennials, right, because that's what we are, Gen X didn't teach us that, oh, you got to save up thousands and thousands of dollars to put down on a house. Or, oh, this is how you do your taxes. Well, they did their taxes on paper, for one. Two, credit scores were brand new to Gen X, right? So that didn't exist. So one of my biggest, like, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know finances because my parents didn't teach me. Well, yeah, that's because your parents are from Gen X, and honestly, they didn't really know how to manage their finances either. I got lucky with my dad, right? Where he knows, like, he's on top of his shit all the time because, one, he's got grandkids who are receiving money from him in the long run. And two, it just, for financial purposes, he needs to be sound on what he's reading and talking about. So, I mean, unfortunately, our generation has been kind of, for lack of better terms, dicked over by the previous generations because we were never taught the stuff that was tribal knowledge to them.
Well, I think a lot of it has to stem from, like, my parents. My parents are mid-50s, and they had, economic classes when they were going in high school. Like, they learned how to take care of their checkbook balance their checkbook. They learn a little bit about taxes and stuff like that.
And they were required classes back then too. It's not like so like I took accounting classes in high school, and that's why I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, right? Because I took classes for it.
Yeah, and the bad thing is I never took those classes. They were never offered to me. And I think a lot of it stems from the fact that your parents, were kind of just like, oh, well, the school will teach them. The schools haven't taught that since probably the 80s.
So one of the cool things is, and I'm going to say this because I know you have some people in your chat that are from a couple of these states. Well, technically there's only 2 right now, but Florida and Texas now, because my wife is a school teacher, so she's in the school system, right? Florida and Texas now require economic stability classes.
It needs to
in their schools. And like I said, like you and I have discussed before, none of my shit was learned from high school except for my accounting classes that I specifically took as electives. None of it came from my parents because my mom can't save money to save shit, right? Like my mom is horrible with that. And being in her situation now, she's kind of feeling that because she has no retirement. She's going to work till she dies because of where she's at now.
That's the way my dad is, but it's funny because when I said that, our parents at one point used to balance their checkbooks, which,
what's a checkbook?
There's kids that don't know what a checkbook is. And
well, where do you go nowadays that accepts checks?
True.
You know what I mean? Like everything's gone so digital. Like I'm old enough to remember when ATMs, when the only ATMs around were the Mac ATMs. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Remember your parents always running around saying, "Oh, my Mac card," and it was like that blue green. It was like almost a rainbow color card.
But it's funny because my mom always wrote out her checkbooks. That's how she balanced her checkbooks. She knew how much money was in her bank account, and it's basically. Let's put it to you this way for those of you that have a bank account and you look at your bank account. Your bank account, when you look at your statement,
it's balanced.
That it is balanced, and that is what she was doing. But what you see is all automated now. She had to do that on her own because she didn't have a cell phone. She couldn't go easily access her bank account whenever she wanted to look at it. So when she wrote the check for $52.18 worth of groceries, she had to go into the checkbook immediately and go, okay, I've got, let's say, $2,500 in my account. Well, now I've got to subtract $52.18 from it because that's how much I've taken out today. My dad, on the other hand, he never wrote his checkbook down. He kept it all up in his head. Every transaction, everything, he knew. And he was like, okay, I've got this much money. I can spend this. I can do this. I can do that. And he never went in the negative or never hit zero. And my mom was like, and he told me this story because me and him were starting to talk finances. And it's so fucking funny. He's like, love your mother to death. But when we got married, she's like, oh, you never balance your checkbook? He's like, no, I know how to do it. It's all up here. She's like, you will be better off if you balance your checkbook and you write it out. So he's like, okay, I love you. I'll give this a shot. Starts balancing his checkbook. Starts immediately hitting zeros. He's like, what am I doing wrong? And he couldn't figure it out. So he's like, well, okay, what she's doing isn't working. So I'm just going to let her do that. And I'm going to balance it in my head. He starts balancing in his head again. He stops hitting zeros, stops overdrafting, and it worked for him.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Like, nowadays, right? Like, most people don't, like you said, don't understand it because you don't have to do it. I look at my bank statement, and if it's negative, I can see every transaction right next to each other, like a ledger, like you would balance your checkbook, and it shows me debits and credits, and it's like, this is where you fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? And I get it. I mean, and one of the things I want to sit down and say is if anyone that ever listens to this ever needs any help, maybe it's something we do in the future where we go through and we do like how to set up a Google Sheets to balance your money and track your money the way that you should, so you understand what's going on.
Until we get a sponsorship deal with what is it, Rocket Money or something?
Yeah, Rocket Money. Oh, you mean the one that tells you when you have more than one subscription of the same type?
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's a key thing. And to spin off of this, the biggest thing when it comes to let's say min-maxing, we're gonna use min-maxing today because I feel like that's gonna be a good topic. When it comes to min-maxing your profit to spending, you want to always max out your profits. And if that becomes, there are some financial people that you'll see on podcasts and YouTube videos that are like, oh, you can still spend your $5 to $10 at Starbucks every day as long as you're doing this with your money and doing no, min-max that shit. Instead of spending $5 to $10 every day to get your Starbucks fucking Frappuccino, how about you go to Costco or Sam's or Walmart and buy coffee?
Oh my God, we were just talking about this earlier.
In bulk, and then make it yourself every morning. One, that saves you in gas because now your trip doesn't have to be as long to go to work because now you don't have to detour to get to Starbucks, even if Starbucks is away.
Or wait in that dumbass line in the morning.
Yeah, or wait in the line and burn your gas. And then two, your coffee's already made, like, and you get to make it yourself. So now you're wants versus needs.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pick up.
So important.
I'm gonna pick up a little bit here. It is because I have a little bit of budgeting talk going on with this because I'm not going to disclose numbers because Mel didn't want me to disclose numbers to you guys as individuals in a Discord call, right? So I'm not going to expose that to anyone else. But Mel and I sat down with this move and looked at how much it's going to cost us, right? And this is a good segue into this whole topic, right? Because this is kind of part of the whole financial decisions thing. I'll give a roundabout number. Roughly, the move to Florida, if we all left, was going to cost me somewhere in the ballpark of $30,000 to $40,000, right? And that's just not feasible. It's not. I can't afford that. Even asking people for money, I couldn't afford that with literal legally signed documents saying that I would pay them back. I'm not going to go get a loan to move, so I'm not going to ask somebody for that kind of money to move. So we made the decision, right? We made a good decision. I think it's a financially sound decision. Am I paying more a month right now because of it? Yes, but that doesn't damper things in the long run, really, although it's costing me a little bit more, right? Like I can still dump the same amount into savings. I can still put like in a budget an allowance for myself and for her and the kids to be well off, right? And still dump a shit ton of money into savings.
Yeah.
And then like I told y'all in that Discord call where I was kind of talking about it a little bit, I still have leftover money that's just unaccounted for and sitting there. What am I going to do with that? I don't know yet. I mean,
Wealth front.
No, because I'll already have a retirement set up the day I start at Kennedy.
It's an extra retirement. I don't think you can ever have too many retirements.
I will start dumping money into funds for my kids before I would probably do that.
You can open up a joint account with them.
I can. We also do, for like the kids and stuff, we do Greenlight, which is like the kids' savings accounts and stuff like that. So like I'm very big on, I don't give my kids anything unless it's a holiday, right? Or their birthday. What I do is my kids have a set of chores. Some people don't like this idea anymore, but I actually wrote a paper for school a couple weeks ago about this, where I think that everything regarding everything regarding this should be kind of set up, right?
Mhm.
And like hybrid, right? Like take some old school techniques and put in some new school spin to it. Like back when you and I were kids, our parents whooped our asses, right? We were in before dark because we know we were getting the belt if we didn't, kind of thing, right? But you can't do that anymore. One, kids are a bit more emotional now than they were back then. We were also the last, what I consider the last generation to be pushed to, at least the men, be pushed to the like, oh, you're a man, suck it up kind of deal. But so what we do is we do chores in my house, right? My daughter my daughter and my youngest son unload the dishwasher. The oldest loads the dishwasher. He has other chores that he has to do. They have other chores that they have to do. They get paid for those. They have jobs in my house. Why? Because it gives them a sense of earning the money, for one. So they understand that concept. And two, they understand that nothing in this world is free. They want that toy, they got to earn enough money for that toy. So, and we give them opportunities to earn some bonuses, right? Like, oh, the recycling needs to go out to the can outside. Give you an extra $1 if you do that. Or, oh, you already unloaded the dishwasher once today, but it needs unloaded again. We'll give you $3 extra for that. You know, so just stuff like that to kind of keep the kids mentally understanding that earning and saving their money is what's important. But
that's a huge thing. Like, I don't mean to interrupt, but that is, you, as we're both fathers, we both understand this now, probably more so than what we understood, because we heard it all the time as we were growing up. Like, you changed the future, you know, your kids are going to be the ones that you have to do this and this and this for, da 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 da. But at the end of the day, I live in a family that is generationally broke. We're fine. We make ends meet. And we do all this stuff, but we're not rich. We're not safe. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you look back at your example. Like, your dad is taking care of your kids, right?
that's only because this is I guess easy and hard to explain. So my dad is prior service, retired, so he gets his pension from there. He's also civil service currently, so when he retires from there, he'll get a pension as well. On top of that, he has a 401k and a Roth IRA that are set up to deposit specific amounts of money into a trust fund for his grandchildren. I don't get to see any of that. My siblings don't get to see any of that. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. My siblings are kind of upset because, not in a bad sense, but like you, they make ends meet, but they're not.
But it's up to them
by any means correct. And that's why I'm like, I'm not going to be upset with you because you're the one that's making your life situation the way that it is, right? So, with that being said, do I think that it's right that he's doing that? I don't know. I don't really care. It's not my money. I don't get to decide what he does with it.
Yeah.
Do I get any of it? No. Do my kids get to be well off? Do my nieces and nephews get to be well off when they're done or when he's gone? Yes, they do. And that's
if they're raised and taught the right way, then yes, they'll be well off.
Well, like no. What I'm saying is, will they be well off to start? Yes.
Yeah.
So like they will have either money or college, like whatever they decide to do. Now, should they go and try to start a business or go to college with those funds? Yes, of course. That's, you want one way to ensure your future. Build something from the ground up, whether it's your education or work, right? You don't need a degree to open a business. Does it help you in some ways? I guess that depends on your degree. But, I mean, you don't need it. There's plenty of people out there that don't even have high school degrees or high school diplomas.
And they're millionaires.
Holy shit, Albert Einstein never finished high school. I think he quit high school in like 9th grade. And then ended up getting a doctorate degree later on down the road. But, I mean, you don't need it. You can succeed in life without and still do very, very well. But
and that's the other thing too is whoever you are in your family's, genealogy, you could be the one that breaks that family tradition of being quote unquote broke.
Break that generational curse.
Yeah.
You will be a much happier person that way.
I am trying my damnedest to do that for myself, for my daughter, and hopefully, my grandkids, if she ever has kids or whatever the case is.
Exactly. In our 30s, right? Like, we still have time to do it too, right?
Doesn't feel it don't feel that way, but yeah, we do.
Yeah, and what I can say is like, and granted, I was 18 too, and I didn't listen to a damn word anyone said to me, right? Financially, about my mental health, anything like that, right? Like, it didn't matter because fuck them. That's what that mentality is. And I get it, but if you take anything from us, understand that the earlier you start, the earlier you'll be able to just lay back and wait, right?
Yeah, I listened to a podcast where there's this girl, she's 28 now. I want to say she was like 28 or something like that. But she got out of high school. She went straight into college. That's what she wanted to do. Then got a white collar job. And she's working for this company up in like Chicago or something like that. And she's making really, really, really good money. But they started being very sexist towards her. And they kicked out a bunch of people. And they were like, kept her around. But she wasn't getting paid enough to do her job compared to the men around her. And we're not going to get into the whole gender pay gap and all this other stuff. But she's seen it, asked questions. They were like, there's nothing you can do. Like, you're in a position where you can't buck us because you're not going to make the same amount of money that you're making now working at a different company. So you either stay where you are, make what you're making, and that's that, or you go work for another company and make less. So she ended up doing something where she just took all of her money, she min-maxed her profits to her spending, and within like a year to 2 years, she min-maxed so hard, she quit the job. And she just lives off of her savings. She's a millionaire. She lives off of her savings and her interest that she gains every month. She's like, I'm not even in my 30s and I'm retired. And I don't ever, and like, she does freelance work in the job, field that she does. And she was able to retain, one, the knowledge from working there. Two, she was able to retain her clients, and they come and they pay her to work. And she said she works 5 hours a week. 5 hours.
Yeah, that's crazy.
An hour a day. She could work an hour a day, Monday through Friday. But instead, she chooses to work 5 hours on a Friday with all her clients. And it pays enough. It pays her enough money to live for the month. So she spends 20 hours a month working, and that pays enough for her to live. She lives a very minimalistic life. But if she wants, she can go fuck off for the next 6 months. And
exactly.
do whatever.
I want people to understand what that means, right? Like, this person works less hours in a month than most normal jobs, non-overtime jobs work in a week.
Yeah.
That's 5 weeks.
She doesn't have to.
Times 40, that's 200 hours a week that you're putting into a job.
Yeah. And she doesn't have to. She stated, I don't have to do this, but I like my job. I love my clients. So I give them 5 hours a week.
Exactly.
And she doesn't have to. she could live her minimalistic style life that she has and be good for the rest of her life. Take care of her kid, take them to school, do whatever. But she chooses to continue to do so that she doesn't have to go back to work full time.
Of course.
And to me,
that's like the ultimate goal right there, right? Make money and work as little as possible.
Yeah, that is 100% a wealthy lifestyle.
And that's not easy to achieve either.
No, it's hard as hell. But she grinded, she hustled for it, and she got to where she is now. And like you were saying earlier, you don't have to go get a degree. There are countless YouTube videos, Google classes that you can take for free or whatever to get you the knowledge to start a business or your knowledge to do whatever.
I'm going to tell you a secret right now. Okay.
Secret. Get your notepads out.
Big secret. Big secret. And the only reason I know this is because I worked with computer science nerds. That fucking nerds, bro. They 100% nerds. Anyways, that's off topic. But on the topic of those nerds, one of the biggest secrets is if you're sitting at home and you're not doing anything and you have interest in it, watch YouTube videos on coding, not like medical coding, like programming.
Don't watch videos on people fucking dying.
Yeah, no, that's probably not a good option. Computer programming is a very, very sought after community right now. And I'm going to tell you that they're not looking for your degree. They're looking for your portfolio.
Freelance.
So what you do, you go watch these videos, you learn Python, you learn C++, you learn C#, you learn whatever you can. And then you take and you go and you build free programs for people for 6 months. And guess what? Maybe you didn't finish high school. You don't have a college degree in computer science. And guess what you can do? Now you can turn around, show your portfolio to a company and say, hey, this is what I'm capable of. Hire me or don't. And then walk out. Mic drop. Just mic drop that shit. And 9 chances out of 10, they're going to hire you if your portfolio is within the specifications of what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
9 chances out of 10. And that right there is, it doesn't cost you anything. YouTube is fucking free.
Yep. And there are thousands and thousands.
Tens of thousands.
You want to make a game? Dude, let's put it to you this way. Back in, oh God, what year was it? 2014, 2016. I was with my first ex-wife. I was talking to her and I was like, I want to make a game. I just want to do it. I want to see if I can do it. I don't care how shitty it is. I don't care how small it is. I want to make a game. I pulled up the laptop, laying in bed with her, and I'm watching these videos. And it was how to make this basic ass game. It was like a 1x1 square, and you literally make a little PNG like person character, and then you're
like an 8-bit, yeah.
It was an 8-bit game. You're chased by something else, and then like I did it in a night, bro. A night.
Yeah.
But
computer science degrees take 4 years to get. No matter where you go, it's going to cost you 4 years of your life to get that degree. Okay? And what happens is all of the information within that degree is available on YouTube. So if you're good at learning things, right, and you have interest in that, then guess what? Take the 2 hours a night and learn something. And guess what? Now you're out of a hole, dude.
Yeah, it's
guess what? You play War Thunder for 4 hours a day. Replace 2 hours of that with with YouTube videos on how to do something and learn it. Because it's that simple. It really is. Like so many friends of mine are like, "Oh, the job market sucks." No, what sucks is your attitude. You're not willing to learn things, right? That's the big thing. If you learn it, you'll get the jobs.
Yeah. like the other thing too is, like you said, it takes 4 years for you to get a computer science degree. How much? Let's min max it real quick. How much time in that 4 years are you spending on your actual degree learning computer science? You've got general education, so you've got math and science and English. You got to learn those. You also have to pick a minor, don't you?
You don't have to. So most schools work. The minor comes from the electives that you choose.
Yeah.
Right.
Or so elective or whatever.
The biggest thing there is out of 120 credit hours that you need for a bachelor's degree, typically only 80 of those roughly are in your course, like directly in the career field you are trying to get that degree for. So there's 40 of them, hours. 40 credit hours that are just worthless,
and that you're paying for. Now, if we min-max this and we go back to what we said, computer science, you want to learn coding, or you want to learn how to build a website or do a video game or whatever, and you spend a whole year, 2 hours a night, 3 hours a night, 4 hours, or hell, an hour a night. You spend.
I want you to look at this. I want you to look at it this way, okay? To make the equivalent of that degree solely, okay? Solely the direct course credits, it would take you 40 days for 2 hours a day to learn all of that information. And I guarantee you pick a college and their seminars are on YouTube. All of their course information is on YouTube. Everything.
It's free. It's there. You just have to hustle and find it.
40 days. 40 days it would take you to learn a 4-year degree in coding minus the Gen X.
Now, sadly, because computer science is considered a white collar job in some aspects, you're going to be looked at differently because one, you don't have a degree.
Not at all.
But if, like you had said before, if your portfolio, you've built this website, you've done, this coding for free, you fix these problems for this company, your portfolio is grade A shit, like it is top tier. That company's going to hire you over that person that's never done anything other than what's inside the classroom.
Of course.
I promise you.
Every time.
I have a doctorate in computer science, but because your portfolio looks like the bee's knees, bro.
I'm going to tell you, people will look at you funny until they see your work.
Mm-hmm.
If they see that you are capable, and this isn't just the person hiring you, this is the employees that you may work with. They may give you shit for not having a degree, but once they see what you're capable of, that's a different story. If they see that you... No, they won't, because guess what? Their dumbasses paid 4 years for a degree that you learned in 40 days.
Reason why they're going to give you shit. They're going to be like, I spent fucking money on this and he didn't. I hate myself. It's like, okay, you hate yourself.
Well, they're going to bust your ass because they hate themselves. Yeah. But that's a whole nother topic as well when you get into the bullying or hazing side of that.
You min-maxed it. Like, they went in with debt and having to, one, live, pay for food and whatever else they have to pay for to live day by day and pay their debt. While you came in, you did 40 days or 3 months of studying off of YouTube and Google. You owe nothing to nobody. You're so straight profits.
40 days is a month and a half, okay, roughly, because it's technically just shy of that. You can learn that in a month and a half, turn around, build 4 solid programs, whether it's a website, whatever aspect of programming you want to get into, right? Take another 3 months to build those 4 programs, okay? And as long as you log, and I'm going to tell you, GitHub works really well with this. As long as you log that information in GitHub, and they can see how long it took you and how you did it, your ass is getting a job. And it only took you a couple months, where it took them 4 years.
Yep. Min-maxing, bro. I'm telling you. But we're gonna cut this episode. I think it's a good time to stop this episode.
Yeah, we can.
I'm gonna cut this one a little short today, hour and a half. It's all good.
Yeah, I gotta get to bed. I'm supposed to be fixing my sleep schedule. I gotta move. I gotta drive halfway across the country in 2 weeks, bro.
It's gonna be things are gonna be.
It's an adventure.
Pace.
I love adventures, dude. This is a problem. Like my wife is always big on like, oh, I don't like sudden changes, and I'm like, bring it. Show me something cool.
Excitement. That's what it is. It's pure excitement. At the end of the day.
I get to hang out with rockets all day. That's kind of cool.
Son of a bitch! I hate you so much. I hate
all the rockets. It's not just SpaceX either. That's a great part.
I'm so jealous. You have no idea how jealous I am.
Artemis, SpaceX, the Falcon rockets. They built a Starship pad there too. I don't think it's going to be there for a while, but Blue Origin, I think we looked at it. There's a couple other ones that are just like smaller space companies too that are launching out of there. But yeah, it's exciting, man. Don't take change as something that's scary. It's only scary to start. And then once you realize what the outcome is going to be, it's fun. Mm-hmm. I love change so much now at this point that like we will literally change our routine just because it's something different and it's cool.
Change is scary up until you know that you're there. So I use myself as an example. I was 25 years old going to SOI for School of Infantry for the Marine Corps because every Marine's a rifleman. We had to take a shortened infantry schoolhouse. Yeah. At 25 years of age, I didn't cry on the way to boot camp. I wasn't a bitch on the way to boot camp. But for whatever reason, on the way to go to SOI, 15 minutes before I get to the base, my mom drove me all the way there. She's super excited, like, you know, my baby's a Marine. Like, he's actually doing this stuff. Da 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 da. I get to the gas station to change into my dress alphas. I get in the car, sit down, and I just start bawling my eyes out. I'm scared to death. I'm fucking like, this is happening. I can't stop it. Like, I'm to that point.
Did Mama Kodip slap you? I hope she slapped you.
She was very, very upfront and comforting. She's like, and she's straightforward about it. And that's what's funny is like, being in the military, you can't just turn around and go, I don't want to do this no more.
Oh no! Once you're there, you're there. You're done.
Yeah. Once like you've already paperwork, you're
contractually obligated.
Yes.
And owned by the government.
So there was no turn around and be like, I don't want to do this. It's not like a normal job in the civilian field where you can be like, I don't want to go to work today. I can go find another job or whatever. It's like, no, I leave and don't come back. I go to jail for a long time for going AWOL. Like
the brig. Fucked. Yeah, well, the brig. Fucked. I have friends who went to the brig.
And so that at that point when I realized it took me getting on base and actually seeing my friends and stuff that I went to boot camp with. But once I got there and I realized I'm here, there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to go with the flow, is when that change went from fear and anxiety to excitement. I get to play with guns. I get to go on marches. I get to shoot people.
Get to go on camping trips.
Yeah, please. We'll talk about that in the next coming episodes. Military fucking stories that we had, but that's
a good topic for.
I don't have a lot because I wasn't in for a long time.
Well, I wasn't either. I was only in for 4 years.
But we'll do like a short segment on that because I do have some funny stories, like, you know, the little short dude that was like 5'3" that was fucking all the girls at SOI. A little sneak peek for that one. But it's like, once I got there was nothing I could do. So I just had to accept it. I had to embrace it. And after that point, my life changed completely when it came to the unknown and the unexpected changes that could happen. I'm like,
do you want to know
those to happen?
Do you want to know what that is? Okay, so there's a big difference in a lot of people today, right? And even our generation was different than the previous generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's a really popular term in the military around this kind of topic? It's common saying. Do you know it? You'll probably know it as soon as I say it.
I probably will.
Embrace the suck.
Oh yeah, embrace the suck. Suck it
You
up.
You always embrace the suck, because the suck is what builds you, man. Suck is what builds you. And I'm going to tell you this. The reason that our mentality is that way is because we were forced to think that way. Right? And what I want people to understand is, although we were forced into it, you're not forced into it. But I think that you should force yourself into that kind of situation, because guess what? It's going to change your life. It really will.
100%.
Once you understand that you have to embrace the suck, you have to love the grind to the top, or whatever you consider the top, whatever you consider successful. Once you understand that that's where the fun is, risk and reward doesn't really matter to you. You're just along for the ride. Failure is not actually failure. It's a learning curve, right? Like, that's all that is. And we can go into this in another episode as well, where, like, I can tell you all the failures I've had over the course of my life, and I'm young, right? And I can tell you that there's a lot of lessons learned in those failures. So, and a lot of poor financial decisions. I can tell you that too. Why'd you spend $150 on beer?
Because it tasted good.
Because there was a hurricane. That's why.
But yeah, we're gonna end this episode here. I am Kodip, as hopefully you guys on this second episode of our podcast have finally figured out. I'm the country bumpkin. I am Kodip. You can find me at twitch.tv/Kodip. And yeah, that's about it for me. That's where you can find me. We have a YouTube channel. YouTube, I don't have the URL, but it's basically YouTube Discussions by Dummies. You can find us there, along with Spotify too.
Yep, but there's a couple other ones where it's posting it to. I just don't remember the names of those off the top of my head. And honestly, looking at the analytics, it doesn't look like they're getting used anyways. So, I mean, until I see them getting used, I don't see a reason to really let everyone know, because Spotify is so big.
Yeah, if you're listening on Spotify, we do ask nicely that you guys give us a 5-star. We would greatly appreciate it. It helps push us to other audiences and helps us get out there on the scene so people can figure out who we are and that we're not to be fucked with, because we're going to be the best podcast you've ever seen, but also the most wholesome and just down to earth podcast too. If you're on YouTube and you're watching this video, hi, I see you. Give us a like. Make sure you subscribe.
You got ketchup on your shirt. Whoever you are. No, not you. Not you, Kodip.
Fuck. If you don't like and subscribe.
Whoever you are out there, there's ketchup on your shirt from eating fucking French fries while you're watching us. I see it.
I smell it.
I can smell it.
Smell it. If you don't
I can
subscribe,
smell you farting over there.
I'm gonna break into your room at night and hit you in the ankle with a razor scooter. While you're asleep.
God, you just say it and I know that feeling.
Where can they find you, Doc? Where can they find you?
They can find me absolutely nowhere right now, because I haven't been streaming, because fuck me, right? I'm moving. But once I get settled and get back into the swing, I will be streaming. You can find me at twitch.tv/doc_CR33PER. And socials, I'm a lazy motherfucker and haven't worked on any of that stuff since the last episode.
We'll get those out.
Kodip will yell at me probably tomorrow. Why aren't you working on your socials?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you driving a truck instead of working on your socials?
With that being said, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah,
I hope you guys have a good day /night/morning, whatever. Enjoy your food, enjoy your rest, whatever
Drink
it is.
Drink your coffee.
Yep. Not from Starbucks, but because you bought it at a store and you made it yourself. Please.
If you're military, we run on caffeine, nicotine, and hatred. And if you're not running on that, you're not military. So shut up. And we'll catch you all the next time.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.